I did see the message in Twitch chat. So I know at least the chat portion is working.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on. Twitch is presumably just having some issues. Earth for the PRR? Yeah, see, I considered that, but nah, I ended up going the other one. So, guess we're on YouTube only today. So hey, whatever, we shall do that. Some reason, my guess is Twitch is just having an issue and they're not being public about it yet. Because it's just completely no-go. It's showing it's streaming on my end, except it's just not showing up on anything other than YouTube. So I know my network connection, say, is working, because it's working for YouTube. Just not Twitch. Tried deauthorizing and authorizing my stream and all, and just no-go. So, whatevs, man. Guess we're just gonna have to roll with it. Hello and welcome to Friday afternoon here on Twitch.tv. Well, let me redo that. Welcome to Friday afternoon here on YouTube.com/DungeonsandDragons/live. I am DDO's Community Manager Cordovan. Having a few issues on Twitch, so we're just going on YouTube gaming today. Thanks very much for checking out the show. We will have archives up later on throughout the day. You can also find our full schedule over on twitch.tv/DDO stream. This weekend, by the way, if you are interested, I am doing a 12-hour Extra Life stream playing the other game, Lord of the Rings Online, from noon to midnight. That'll be over on Lotro stream on Twitch. So if you want to check that out, you can. Otherwise, I will be also doing a 12-hour live stream the following weekend, so November 12th. That's the right date. Noon to midnight Eastern. I'm going to be streaming DDO for 12 hours straight. Probably hopping around between the various servers, although I've kind of also considered maybe just doing a marathon, see how far I can get in 12 hours on one of the servers. I'll pick one I don't have a very good character on and just sort of give it a shot. So I may end up doing that instead. But we'll see. Otherwise, how's your weekend going along? Got any big plans? This is our final weekend for the Night Revels. It's getting shut off on Monday morning, whenever folks get into the office and get it all shut off. So, might want to get those ingredients and such in now. This is your opportunity to get things done. I know I'm pretty well set actually here on Sarlona. I'm just going to be kind of enjoying, you know, the basic workload. Getting some extra cookies and what have you. Should be fun. But like I say, for the most part, I'm actually pretty well done on Sarlana here. I have a lot to do yet on Thelanis, though. So I'm going to be Thelanising it up quite a bit in the coming days so I can get all the... I want the cosmetic armor. I want some of the cookies. At least... Alright, so here's the cookie... Here's my cookie report. Basically, the idea of the cookies is they last around through the end of 2016. Typically, the first patch into 2017 is when we're going to shut it off. And they have an hour duration and then an hour-long cooldown. So, about half the time is the intended time that you just sort of sit there and do the thing. One of them, and these are all festive stacks, so it's all stacking. So one of them does PRR and MRR. And the other one does melee and ranged power. And I believe it's a +5 on both of those. There's another one that'll increase your dodge bonus based on your listen skill. So if for whatever reason you have a character with a moderate to high listen skill, or want to temporarily respec to take advantage of it until the end of the year, there's a really good cookie for that. My understanding though is it doesn't increase your dodge bonus beyond your current dodge cap. Perhaps if someone has tested it out, they can let me know if that's accurate or not, but that's my understanding. However, there's also the Hood of Unrest. That has a one-charge clicky, and that one-charge clicky does stack, even beyond your current dodge cap, and I believe it adds a 20% to your dodge cap, so a pretty good one. Any idea when gnomes will be on sale? I don't know when they're going to be on sale. It's a very good question. They have not really been on sale yet.
The creature hisses.
No, I can't say. I'm sorry. The answer is I do have some idea, but I really can't talk about it. I'm sorry. But, you know, if you just sort of think about our typical sales around this time of the year, maybe not start of November in particular, but, you know, other big times where things might be on sale. Perhaps you'll have some guidance as to one possibility in which, if it's going to happen, it might. So, vague enough for you? Any idea the next time turbine points will be on sale again? I would imagine certainly by the holidays. That's a pretty standard thing for us. So I would imagine that, but I don't actually know for sure. But I'm just gonna guess, just based on historic precedent, that
has been slain.
Probably around the holiday, if not before. Kind of what I was thinking, getting low and want to buy stuff. Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure because I don't directly put together that list. You know, I mostly see it in the calendar once it's time to announce it and then announce it. But just kind of common sense would tell me probably around the holiday. Any idea when older hand wraps will be fixed so that they proc their effects again? I don't know. I mean, I know it's on our list of things to do, but, one of the people who has been taking a very lead role in that activity is currently on paternity leave. The way it rolls sometimes. So I'm not 100% sure that I would want to promise anything. Like, say, in the next update. Kind of depends on how things go. But it's on our list of things to do, so I would imagine so. The same with pet collars. And I believe there was actually some work done before this individual went on paternity leave that's going to be in the next patch. But I don't have enough knowledge about what that is to get too granular with it. Going to play some Metroid Other M while listening? Really? Other M? I played that game on the Wii way back in the day. I will refrain from providing an opinion on it. May not have been my favorite, but whatever. Welcome, welcome. We're just getting ready to finish under new ravagement.
The shriveled corpse crumbles.
We'll wait to speak to Maxwell until you guys get in.
Maxwell Statler nervously returns to the tavern.
It's nice to see YouTube getting some love here, by the way. So, you know, I was actually talking to someone the other day in guild chat who was like, really? I don't, those cookies? Man, I never know. I don't like the hour-long cooldown, hour on, hour off. Well, the idea is basically we don't want to have to balance content to make it be 100% of the time for a couple, 2-3 months out of the year. So that's the point of half on, half off on these cookies. But they are a stacking festive bonus. So it's pretty darn useful. My theory is just keep it running whenever you're questing. And yeah, sometimes you're going to be on that hour cooldown, sometimes you won't. But you're going to get enough use out of it, clearly, to make it pretty valuable. At least I did. I found it quite useful. And they're really easy to get, too. I mean, you can... There's like, what, 20 ingredients? So you're basically looking at one run of a quest, maybe 2, depending on your skill set. Oh, hey, did Twitch just finally kick in? There we go. All right. Yeah, I'm guessing Twitch was just being temperamental. Alright, up next is Hayweird. Twitch a little twitchy. You know, they are preparing for a big weekend. This is the kickoff weekend for Extra Life. And Extra Life seems to be particularly huge over on Twitch, with a ton of people doing 24-hour live streams and that. So my guess is their resources are really being put to the test here for this weekend. So that may be just kind of what's going on. I know they've also been working. There's a kind of a highlight issue they had too, so could be that too. Anyway, for you fine folks over in Twitchland, welcome to Friday afternoon. I've been here since noon, but you were not visible.
Strange things stirring within the now abandoned Haywire Foundry.
The new Call of Duty remaster is out this week as well. Yeah, I have never been a COD player. I'm not in general a big first-person shooter player. Oh, I know, big surprise there, right? but it's true. I played a lot of Quake back in the 90s. Quite a bit of Unreal Tournament back in the day. But man, I'm just... Amazingly, I am not a top-tier first-person shooter player. I know, it seems like I would be. After all, physical dexterity and extremely high-quality Twitch gameplay is a defining factor of my personality. But, no, I suck. That said, you know, I'll put the top tier Call of Duty player up against my Yar's Revenge skills just about any day of the week, and I will peon them. Because there ain't someone who can Yar more revenge than I can. No, I don't hate Metroid, and I definitely don't hate some of Metroid Other M. I just found it to be a jarring shift in personality and storytelling. I didn't really like how weak they had Samus in that game too. I guess I just got stuck. I was like 2/3 of the way through, and I was like, what am I supposed to do? I just couldn't find the thing I needed to find, so I was just like, alright, you know, let me play something else instead. But someone says it used both keys in Haywire. That absolutely should not be happening. It's not been my experience as well. I've got a stack of 5 here, and they're not being all used in Haywire. Now, if you recall out and back in, maybe, but I don't know about that one. It should, probably what happened is it got sent into a bag, maybe? No, I don't know. I honestly don't know. But it shouldn't be eating your keys, and that has not been my experience, so I'm unclear quite what happened to you there. Someone else is asking about when the next sale of Turbine Points is. Stay tuned. It should be pretty soon. I'm going to imagine it'll be for the holidays, if not prior. You're right, Yar's Revenge was a fun game. You know what's interesting about some... You know, I'm a big Atari collector, right? And on the one hand, some of those Atari games are so rudimentary. I mean, they're just... You know, it's the late 70s, early 80s. and they were really trying to figure out what the rules of video games were. You know, they didn't really have a lot of success stories other than, say, Pac-Man and Space Invaders and Pong, to really decide, you know, what is good gameplay? What do people like to play? What do people like to do when they're playing games? And so you had this really interesting time of heavy experimentation with various things that in some cases became foundations for everything we've played since. And in some cases, like something like Yar's Revenge, you get this kind of one-off experience that just really has never quite been repeated outside of that game. And that's one of the things I really like about it. You know, on the one hand, it's a really simple mechanic where you're jetting around a static, you know, screen, trying to break through a wall almost brick-out style. But then it also has this kind of field where you're you're invulnerable to damage and what have you. So it's, I don't know, I've always found that to be a particularly interesting game from kind of a game design perspective. Not just because it's so unique compared to its peers, but also just because up to this day, really no one's ever quite done the same sort of thing before. It's interesting. I don't know. Maybe you guys feel different, but that's always what I've really appreciated. Even when you've got the, you know, incredibly blocky graphics and super rudimentary chip-based gameplay, or sound chips and stuff, you get these quirky Atari games that just are like, wow, who thought that was a good idea? Or, wow, that's really neat. You know, I've never seen anything quite like it. 40-some years later. So that's always what I find really interesting. I'm really into the history of game design, and the Atari is just such fertile ground for interesting things there.
Then it grins slightly, revealing a set of fangs that betray the creature's true nature.
You know, what's interesting is even when in the future some, like Atari or other companies, have tried to emulate some of these things, they never quite turn out the same, you know? Like, I remember there was a more recent version of Yar's Revenge in that where it's like updated graphics and gameplay, and there's just something about the core game loop of some of those early Atari games that really just almost cannot be duplicated today. I don't know. And then, of course, you've got, you know, your ETs and Superman and what have you. But hey, that's cool, you know. But yeah, I'm a big classic game nerd. No big surprise there. My goal is to try to get a near complete Atari collection, and I'm about halfway there. There's somewhere around, depending on how you want to count it, 700-ish games that were officially released during the Atari 2600's lifetime. You know, that doesn't include homebrews and such that came up later in the internet community. So I'm not counting that, although there are plenty of good games, but I'm not counting that as complete. And then there's a few games that are just so rare, like, say, Tooth Protectors and Red Sea Crossing and, you know, a few others like that that are just so rare, and when they do come up, they're, you know, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on eBay. I ain't getting those either, not unless I win the lottery. So, out of the, like I said, I think it's 740-some Atari games that collectors typically tend to count as these are the official games from Atari during its lifetime. Atari 2600, BCS. I mean, I'm currently sitting at like 283 or something like that. Maybe almost 300 now. I did pick up a few things in recent weeks. But I've also gotten to the point that I have just about all the commons and uncommons. So the rest is going to start becoming much harder to get. And then once I get that, there's this further tier, which is like super duper rare and hard to get. Because, you know, they were just released on a mail order catalog at one point for subscribing to a magazine or something like that. And that's just sort of the way it rolls.
Down your spine as it approaches.
But I'm a big hunter. You know, I scour flea markets and thrift stores and that sort of thing, Game Chasers style. If you ever watch that on YouTube, a couple of dudes that pretty funny, not safe for work, that do a lot of game collecting. Yeah, Chase the Chuck Wagon. That's another one. It's a perfect example of that kind of extremely rare game that I'm just frankly highly unlikely to ever actually get. And I will say this as well, I'm not going for boxed. I know some Atari collectors are like, if it's not boxed, it doesn't count. I'm just looking for the carts because, hey, that's, you know, can't do everything. Now, that doesn't mean I don't collect boxes. But in terms of me considering my completion complete, I'm just looking at the carts, not the boxes and manuals and all the rest.
Snitch next?
Yeah, I'm just going clockwise, so whatever one's next, I'm just looking at chat quick.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a interesting story about your key usage. I really don't know quite what happened to you there. That's true. This is the weekend we all set back our clocks. Yeah, that's great. One more hour to farm night revels. That's true. I think for most of us, one more hour to sleep. But sorry about going off topic and talking Atari, but I am an Atari nerd. I love my Atari stuff, so I can talk someone's ear off. Someday I've always kind of considered maybe doing a classic video game podcast for Atari stuff. What I'd really like to do is just go alphabetically through all the games and play them and talk a little bit about their history and that. And when available, I'd really like to talk to some of the original game creators. You know, a lot of them are starting to get a little bit older, and I'd like to capture their history and story while we still can. So, you know, we'll see.
The sound of fleeing townsfolk rises from below. There must be a way to get down into the courtyard. The mummy collapses into a pile of scattered bandages and fetid dust.
You know, I happened to look up just the other day that some of those old Atari devs are still around, and for whatever reason, whether it's MIT connections or what have you, a bunch of them are actually living on the East Coast. So, like, New England area. So it's possible, it's conceivable, that if I really want to dedicate the time and energy to it, I might be able to actually sit down and chat with some of these people for say, a podcast and that. I've always wanted to, and I've never wanted to do the work myself because it would just be so much work, but I would love to see someone do a similar thing for Dungeons & Dragons. You know, sit down and start going through all those classic modules and then talk to the individuals who made the modules at the time about what was it like, what were you going for, tell me about your groups at the time, and, you know, all the rest. I had an opportunity to do a little bit of that with Ed Greenwood when we did the Haunted Halls of Evening Star, and you can find the results of that over on our YouTube page of youtube.com/Dungeons and Dragons. And that was really cool. He talked about, you know, what the assignment was and how they made modules back in the day and how the drafts work and how many pages it was and just all that sort of kind of crunchy stuff that I just find fascinating. But I'd love for someone to take that kind of thing and do it just for all the D&D peeps who worked on all the classic modules. Again, some of them are around, some of them may not be anymore. So while we have an opportunity, I think it really would be a really good time for someone to take the reins and attempt to do that sort of thing. It'd be neat. Am I going to have a full server event? Yeah, that'll be Saturday, November 12th. I'm raising money for Movember on the DDO side, and you can find that at mobro.co/Jerry Snook. mobro.co/Jerry Snook. You can also join Team DDO. That is moteam.co/Team DDO. And you can just donate there as well if you don't want to donate to my personal page. But noon to midnight, Saturday, November 12th, so not this weekend, but the weekend after, I'm going to be doing a 12-hour live stream of DDO. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do. It's going to be pretty casual, you know, in terms of the formal event itself. I might hop a couple hours per server, but I've also thought it might be fun to just sort of do a marathon, you know, pick a server I have less of a good character on. I'm thinking like Galanda or Caneth, maybe in particular. I know my characters kind of suck on those two servers. And then I could go and just see how far I can get in 12 hours. I bet I could get pretty close to 20. I bet I could. Yeah. Casual was implied when I was streaming DDO. That's true. I'm a 10-year casual veteran.
An overwhelming stench assails you as you begin to explore the hideout.
I am who I am. Yeah, I was thinking, that's the thing is like, okay, so if I just do a couple hours per server, it'll be cool, but I'm not really going to make necessarily a huge amount of progress. And if I'm going to dedicate 12 hours specifically to just DDO, spend a whole day doing it, I kind of like to sort of be one and done finally on one of those servers that I just don't have a very good character on. So I'm kind of thinking maybe I will just pick one server and marathon it. See how far I can get. Yeah, I have a feeling 12 hours I could certainly get to 20. No problem on that. Probably even make quite a bit of progress to 30. Depending on how many breaks I take and what have you, you know? But
the second rune activates and the door unlocks in the distance.
if you've kind of found a way to have more than 2 summon monsters at the same time, that would be an exploit. Someone's asking if it is. That said, I don't know, you know, there's some line between it's a bug that we need to fix and, oh my god, it's an exploit and you're gonna get banned. I can't imagine that having a couple summon monsters would big of a deal. I know there have been times in the past where it was possible. But I guess it really kind of depends on the circumstances and what's being done. But what about Caneth? Yeah, Caneth could be one too. Because the only thing I've got on Caneth is like a level, I think it's 14, 15 druid that I rolled up for a Damsels of DDO thing. So my characters kind of suck on Caneth too. And Galanda, I'm pretty sure it's Galanda where I've got my pew 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 build, my Warlock Artificer. And I would kind of like to level that person up. So, I don't know. I haven't decided yet. It'll either be probably Caneth or Galanda. But we'll see.
Shatters as several creatures shamble towards you. Malkirik the Lich bids his creations to attack. Shouts. Rise, my creations! As Malkirik crumbles
Man,
to
this group
dust,
is
a feeling of cold
living up to
settles
Sarlona's
around
name.
the room.
You guys are doing great. Every time I go to Sarlona, I'm just like, holy moly. How much XP can I earn in a short period of time? You dudes rock. Alright, up next is Getting Ahead in Stormreach Plaza. Did someone actually go in at level 21? Yeah, why don't you come on out, we'll
Yep.
reset it.
You went in too low, I shrugged. We're out.
Alright, in on 35. So I wanted to call attention to something that came up in the Chronicle this week, and that is City Plays DDO. City has not only been a long-sitting member of our community here on Twitch, but also a blogger and longtime DDO player. And my understanding is City has begun streaming now on Mondays on the personal channel. I think it's City Plays DDO, but perhaps if City's around,
Been told of strange disturbances
just drop a
inside
URL in the
Lord
chat.
Mark's Palace. You enter the darkened building to investigate.
Oh, also Cleavebeard has been streaming DDO on Saturday nights around 9 p.m. Pacific, so it's 9, but 12, midnight, 1 o'clock Eastern, something like that. So that's cool. Why don't you drop a URL into chat as well so that people can give you a follow if they want to join you. I got a D-door.
That makes like a bigger deal.
Hey, Woody Hart, nice to see you here. Yeah, YouTube's got some kind of things about URLs in chat that even I cannot overwrite. So I remember looking into that once before. But yes, twitch.tv/Cleavebeard. And that's CLEAVBEARD. That's weird. I've never really used a D-door there to do both. I suppose it makes sense.
Just as available.
That's odd. Still there, huh? Oh yeah, Cleaford, I'm sure. Right now, DDO Splat is on hiatus until 2017, so we do have a Tuesday evening slot open for sure. So get in touch with me. We can probably set you up. The Registry of Magical Vehicles. Yeah. Hopefully you've never had to go to the RMV in Massachusetts. If you have, I apologize. It's a very painful place to be.
It used to be a troll zone.
Yeah, good point, Cleafbeard. Yep. And yeah, even after DDO Splat, I think that was really the only thing on Tuesday night, so even when they come back, there's still plenty of room for you to stream. Does the team have any plans to top off Caneth Crafting or anything that we might be able to know about? Just curious if there is any more Caneth Crafting stuff to look forward to. I do think that we're not done with Caneth Crafting yet. I don't know when it's going to be that we'll see further additions to it. You know, one of the things is it's generally in a pretty okay place right now. And as we're looking to add things in the future, whether it's benefits or properties or whatever it may end up being, Kenneth Crafting is now going to be one of those possibilities that we can be like, okay, this is where we're going to put it. But I don't know that we have, say, any formal plans to do a lot of Kenneth Crafting work in the short term. I think we're going to be focusing our attention on things like Reaper difficulty and itemization and Ravenloft, things like that. So I don't know that we're going to have a lot of time to dedicate to further Kenneth Crafting work. But I could pretty well say, yeah, we're almost certainly not done with ever working on Kenneth Crafting. On top of that, we have a few bugs to still squash and stuff. I know, Ravenloft. That's going to be so awesome. Excuse me, I am so looking forward to that. That's going to be rad. You know, if you had asked me 10 years ago, 5 years ago, if we'd be able to do all these different settings like Ravenloft and Forgotten Realms and what have you, I'd be like, oh man, that would be an amazing thing to do. And we're actually starting to be in a position where some of this stuff's happening. So, it's real cool. Real cool. Reaper will debut next year, question mark. Woody Hart says, man, it will be insanely hard. I imagine some hard quests on Reaper like The Pit. I know, right? I think it's going to be before next year. Odds are fairly good that it could be as soon as update 34 in December. You know, we're currently actively working on the rewards and tweaking based on that Lamania feedback we received. We'll be doing almost certainly another round or two of Lamania feedback as well. But some of it's going, like I say, some of the rewards in that we're deliberately keeping quiet about. So I don't know that we're going to let everyone see everything before it goes live. But we'll see. But I think it's going to be still this year. I think it'll be in December. Any plans to fix the ladder bug? So, this comes up occasionally. And I have to say that I almost I have not run into a ladder bug in years. I know that people say it's still around. There was a time where I was considering creating a forum thread and saying, you give me a loc and a reproducible loc, I'll give you some turbine points and see how many people actually follow through on ladders.
Sets your nerves on edge.
If you've got one, please let me know about it, because I don't know if that many ladder bugs left. But I do think it may also be a mix of what race you are. I think, like, perhaps if you're a Warforged or maybe a gnome or something, it may be more of an issue. It may be happening in a way that isn't due to, like, animation rigs and things. But the core of the ladder bug is usually a physics issue. So the way ladders work is it's almost like Lego building blocks, right? You have a sectional ladder, then the world builder puts sectional ladder, sectional ladder, sectional ladder, and so forth all the way up the screen. And if there's a small gap in that physics, like it wasn't quite laid down correctly, then that's the cause of the ladder bug, because you sort of hitch, because it can't consistently go through. So the fix is to find the individual ladder that's the issue, and then correct the physics on it. And so what we need in order to be able to fix existing ladder bugs is get an exact location of it, along with, say, your race, class, level, multi-class breakdown, what have you, so that we can directly figure out which ladders are not working for which specific subtypes. Please do.
Delay has been slain.
And so the reason a lot of this was an old content issue is when we upgraded our Havoc physics engine for, is it Shadowfell? It was an upgraded version of Havoc. So previously, ladders that were didn't have a gap, that were consistent under the more detailed and frankly better, updated physics engine, those gaps suddenly appeared, in ways that they didn't exist under the old physics engine. So that was why a lot of work was done after the Havoc update to find and squash ladder bugs, and we did that. And so, like I say, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, because I will be proven wrong as soon as I say that. But I have to admit, I have not seen a ladder bug in such a long time that I kind of wonder where it's still happening. Sweet. Yeah, it does make fixing the bug very tedious. Yep, that's absolutely the case. And that's been part of the reason why it hasn't been just like a one-and-done thing on ladders. We did fix the door bug in Giant Hold. Yeah, that only took years. So Crunicia says it was not fixed. Sure looks fixed to me. Works on my character, too. Is it a licensing hassle to get our hands on these classic modules? Not too much, because they're typically the license, core licensing is the same licensing we have to make Dungeons and Dragons with Wizards of the Coast. So to that extent, it's not really any more difficult. What typically is a process, though, is to submit or work in collaboration with Wizards of the Coast to see what classic adventure might be next. There have been times where we've said, well, what should our next classic module be? And maybe we coordinate with Wizards on kind of what their planning is, what fits thematically with what they're doing. And sometimes we go off in a somewhat different direction, too. Like when we did Temple of Elemental Evil, that was done kind of in the same year that they did their big temple push. But ours was the classic version, and theirs was kind of a new version. And I don't think that was quite the same for Against the Slave Lords. That was more independent. That was just us saying, hey, let's do this thing, and them being okay. So I don't know if it's necessarily a consistent process, but strictly licensing, provided we're not doing something like, say, Dragonlance, which has its own separate, IP licensing, then we're okay. Huh, that's interesting. Wonder what's up. Come on over to Argo and I'll show you the Giant Hold ladder is still busted. Alright. Any other goodies planned for Update 34? Well, there's going to be a free dungeon. And Reaper difficulty are the two main bullet points. We do have some other things happening as well that are more kind of like bug fixes and that sort of thing. But so I think those are the two main bullet points for the smaller end of the year update. Will I play Reaper mode on the live stream? Oh yeah, I will, but clearly you folks know that the odds of me being successful in Reaper mode are not too high. Maybe I could one skull a few things, couple skull a few things. Maybe I can pike along with some people who are good at Reaper difficulty. But it'll be funny to you know, go in on 10 skull and just be like, bonk, and just be done, so...
The dark of eternal night has drawn its cloak over Dalara's graveyard. Attend the night revels, if you dare.
Any chance to see improvements on the Mac client? Probably not. I know it's been so long since, you know, we've been able to focus on the Mac. Alright, so everyone's a giant hold, so somewhere in there should be... Alright, well... I don't know, man. I mean, like I say, I'm not seeing any of that. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I don't know. Yeah, before you could queue the two doors, exactly. And I'm just not seeing that, so. Oh. Even that didn't do it. See, I can... Okay, so I've targeted Giant Hold rather than Ruins a Giant Hold. And when I U... Okay, okay. So that's what's happening then. You're doing a weird targeting on it. So I never run into that issue because... Who does that? Well, you do that, so there you go, but okay. Yeah. Alright, well that's cool. I'll pass that along then, now that I know what's going on. So if you only keyboard macro or keyboard your way into Giant Hold, that'll still do that. Okay. So here's my suggestion. Don't QU your way into Giant Hold. Do what everyone else does and just double click on it. Alright, thanks for watching the we'll fix it though. Thanks for watching Friday afternoon here on twitch.tv/DDO stream and youtube.com/DungeonsandDragons/live. Hope you have a great DDO weekend. Please check out our schedule. Give us a follow. Subscribe to us on YouTube. You can subscribe to one show, couple of shows, or the whole shebang if you want to over on, again, youtube.com/DungeonsandDragons/live. Thanks again. Have a great weekend.